Hi, welcome to section 2.4, adding integers. This is just stemming off of what we did yesterday in the computer lab. So we're just going to apply some rules now that we've investigated the process of adding integers. So to add integers with the same signs, you're going to add their absolute values. If both integers are positive, then the answer will be positive. It's going to be negative if both integers are negative. Okay, so when I have 9 plus 4 is 13, and the answer will be positive because 9 and 14 are both positive. They both have to be positive. Negative 9 plus negative 4, 9 plus 4, which would be the absolute values, is 13, and then I apply that negative sign there as well. And if you remember from yesterday, when I would draw my boxes, the only time they would cancel out was when I had both a positive and a negative. And so I would have 9 positive chips and 4 positive chips. So I would have all positive numbers. Okay? And for these, negative 9, I have a negative 9 or 9 negative chips and 4 negative chips. So nothing would cancel out. So you're basically just counting up all the negative chips, which ends up being more like addition. Now when I add integers with different signs, you're going to subtract their absolute values. Okay, so when they have different signs, it's like subtraction because of the cancellation between those positive numbers and the negative numbers. Remember when you dragged them across each other, they would just cancel out. Okay, so to add integers with different signs, you're going to subtract their absolute values. The answer will be positive if the positive integer's absolute value is greater. Okay, so if the positive number is furthest from 0, it's going to be positive. It's going to be negative if the negative integer's absolute value is greater. Okay, so if that negative number is further from 0 than the positive number, it's going to be negative. Okay, so if you look at these two examples, I have a 9 plus negative 4. So I have a positive and a negative, and I'm going to take the absolute value. So I'm going to take 9 minus 4, which does equal 5. Okay, and then the number that's furthest from 0 is 9. So that's why my answer is going to be positive. Over here, I'm doing the same thing. Absolute value of negative 9 is 9 minus absolute value of 4 is 5. But this time, my negative 9 is furthest from 0. The absolute value is larger. So my answer is going to be a negative 5. Okay? And once again, if I demonstrate this with my chips here, I'm going to have 6, 7, 8, and 9 positive chips. And then I'm going to apply 4 negative chips to those as well. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so these would cancel, gone. These would cancel, they're gone. These would cancel, gone. And these would cancel, which is gone. So I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 positive chips left. And that's how I get my positive 5. So whenever you're in doubt, you can always draw your pictures and do your cancellation with your positive and your negative. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and start with some addition problems. Okay, always refer back to your rules. Just going to help you out if you make sure you understand those rules. So I have negative 5 plus negative 7. Well, they are both the same sign, so it's like addition. So 5 plus 7 is going to be 12. Okay, but I know my answer will be negative. Why? Because both numbers are negative. So I would have all those negative chips that wouldn't get canceled out, and my answer is negative 12. Okay, for the next one, I have a positive and a negative number. And the rule for when you have both positive and negative is to take the absolute value, and I'm going to subtract. Okay, now when you're subtracting, I want you to think about it as taking a positive minus the larger number minus a smaller. So this is really, I want you to think about it as 12 minus 10. And 12 minus 10 is 2. Okay, so it's like subtraction, but remember the rule with when I subtract is that if it's going to be positive if the positive integer's absolute value is greater, and negative if the negative integer's absolute value is greater. Okay? So, which one is a greater value? Which one's furthest from 0? And that would be negative 12. So that would be a negative 2. Okay? For the next one, you'll notice I have 3 numbers now. Okay? And that's not going to make a difference. We're just going to go one set at a time. So I'm going to start off with 2 plus negative 15. And these are opposite signs, so it's like subtraction. So I'm going to change that order real quick. 5 minus 2 is going to be 13, but now I'm applying the sign. So if I have 2 different signs, I'm taking the sign of the one that's furthest from 0, which is the negative 15. So it's going to be negative 13. Now I'm going to bring the rest down here. Okay, the parentheses around the negative is just used, okay, to just make sure you understand that's a negative 2 and not a minus 2. Okay, so they use parentheses quite often just around those numbers, just to not confuse you, but to make sure you understand it's not a minus 2. Okay, now for this next one, I have negative 13 plus a negative 2. So these are the same signs, Negative 13 plus negative 2 would be like 13 plus 2, which is 15. But I know that I have 2 negative numbers, so I have to apply that sign because they're the same signs. So the answer would be negative 15. Okay, here's our last set. Now these are kind of like the ones we did last chapter. I'm going to be substituting my A, my B, and my C into the appropriate problem, and then I'm going to evaluate it. And remember, evaluate means to solve. Okay? So I'm going to evaluate each expression. If A equals B, B equals negative 8, and C equals 4. So I'm going to substitute 8 in for A. So 8 plus, and then my B is negative 8. Now yesterday we talked about this a little bit, okay? If you recall, if I have a positive and a negative number that represents the same number, meaning they both are the same distance away from 0, but they're on opposite sides of the 0. What are those called? Okay, if you remember, they're called opposites. So 8 and negative 8 are opposites of one another. Okay, so 8 plus negative 8 is 0 because I would have a full cancellation. If I have all of these positive 8s here, okay, and I am going to cancel them out with these negative 8s, okay, what's going to happen is that everyone has a partner. Everyone has a partner that's going to cancel. So boom, gone, gone, gone. Is there going to be anything left? No, and that is why when I add opposites, the answer is 0. Okay, and then my last one, I have negative 10 plus, and C at this point is 4. Okay, so negative 10 plus 4. I have opposite signs. So when you have opposite signs, you're subtracting. So I'm taking 10 minus 4, and we know 10 minus 4 is 6. Now what sign am I going to apply? I have a positive and a negative. So which one's furthest from 0? Well, it's going to be that negative 10. So my answer is negative 6. And there's my solution. Okay? So when I add integers, the most important thing you can do is understand the rules. If you don't understand the rules, you need to either ask myself or Mr. Kohlinger, or draw your pictures. Yesterday, it made a lot more sense to you when you saw those pictures and saw the cancellation. Okay? So at any point, if you need to use the cancellation, we want you to do it because that's just going to make you a more intuitive learner. We want you to be able to investigate and understand. Okay? Well, thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you tomorrow.